Another Anemo DPS that is not so tiny but still a little angry is out now in the version 5.2 of Genshin Impact. She's the peacemaker from the Flower Feather clan in Natlan, Chasca. It's a common knowledge now that Anemo is one of the most broken elements in Genshin, and Chasca still managed to enhance already great Anemo-centric mechanics and also bring new interesting gameplay. Hi, this is Earlbedo. In this video, we will be comparing the latest 5-star Anemo DPS Chasca with two of her already proven and tested strong counterparts, Xiao and Wanderer, to help you decide if you should pull for her. To be objective, we will not talk about their designs and personalities, although I think Xiao is the best. But we will focus on their kit and talents, their pros and cons, and overall value that they bring to your account. And as always, this video is created with F2P and low spenders in mind, so we will mostly talk about C0 characters. Let's first talk about the most obvious advantage of Anemo characters, exploration. Many of you might think that this is not worth the discussion. But let's be real, how many times have you gotten frustrated when you cannot reach the top of a hill just because your stamina is depleted? I personally think that exploration can be a deciding factor, especially for early ARs. Characters like Venti who can create upward current and Shan Yun who can travel long distances and glide faster are great examples. And the 3 DPSs of course have their own tricks too. The least impressive exploration ability is Xiao's. His skill basically lets him dash, that's it. It's simple, but you can do it mid-air. And also his burst lets you jump higher, which is not always available. Wanderer's ability is more useful and easier to use since he can fly forward and vertically at a decent distance. But Chasca took it to another level, literally, since she has more mobility and it looks like she can travel longer distances even outside Natlan, and most especially on Natlan. Most of us already know that these 3 Anemo Vision Wielders are main DPSs that are attack scaling, which means they output the most damage in their team. Let's quickly compare how they deal damage. We'll talk about the details later. First, our polearm user Xiao's main damage source is his burst. Once used, he does this very cool AoE plunging attack. Wanderer on the other hand uses a catalyst and his skill to power up his normal and charge attack, which is also very cool. But I think Chasca, a bow user, has a more interesting damage source and animation. Once you use her elemental skill, she floats with her very huge gun. It's kind of funny but very cool at the same time. This also lets her enter her Night Soul Blessing state, which is a Natlan specific mechanic. I'll talk about the specifics later. She basically can do normal and charge attack just like Wanderer in this state. But unlike the 2 Anemo boys, whose main damage is Anemo, a huge chunk of Chasca's damage is non-Anemo. Yes, she is an Anemo wielding character that utilizes other elements to deal damage. I know you're curious, so let's first discuss Chasca's kit in this section. Just like other Natlan characters we have so far, Chasca makes use of Night Soul Blessing state. Basically, when a Natlan character is in this state, they get a certain buff or change in mechanics. In Chasca's case, from a regular bone normal and charge attack stance, she floats and uses her giant gun to deal damage. During this state, her movement speed increases and she also gains interruption resistance, which is already an advantage when compared to other bow users like Ganyu and Lingy who can be easily interrupted mid-charge attack. There are 2 ways to deal damage in this state. The less impactful way is to use her normal attack, which deals Anemo damage, but this is a low multiplier, so let's focus on the next method. Before we continue, if you are enjoying this video, please subscribe to my channel because I make Genshin Impact guides like this almost every week. Using her charge attack lets her enter the special aiming mode. Here's a side-by-side comparison on how fast her charge attack is compared to Ganyu. During her charge attack, you can aim and lock certain enemies, and a total of 6 Shadow Hunt shells, which are represented by these bullets, can be unleashed. Here comes the exciting part. I mentioned earlier that she deals more non-Anemo damage than Anemo damage. That is because the 4th, 5th, and 6th bullets can be randomly converted to the elements of the characters in your party. This only takes effect to Pyro, Hydro, Electro, and Cryo. So that means aside from the Anemo bullets, non-Anemo elements can also be fired while triggering elemental reactions. That also means that if you have a Pyro character like Bennett and a Cryo character like Layla in the team, Chasca, an Anemo user, can trigger melt effectively and not just whirl one of the elements, which I think is insane. And this also implies that using Anemo damage goblet is not the best way to go. An attack percent goblet may be more beneficial since it's universal. And as an Anemo character, she can simultaneously swirl these elements, dealing a little more damage, and more importantly, this gives her an option to use the Viridescent Venerer set, which is a broken set. One of her Ascension passives also gives her a chance, depending on how many different non-Anemo characters are in the team, to convert one of the bullets to a stronger bullet called Shining Shadowhunt's Shell, which deals more damage, based on the number of, again, non-Anemo characters. This passive will force you to play Chasca with Pyro, Hydro, Electro, or Cryo characters. Her last passive will let her fire another randomly converted bullet if a character triggers a Night Soul Burst, which means only other Natlan character can trigger this. So far, there are only two possible candidates, Kenichi's Dendro, while Mualane is a main DPS, so it is not advisable to use them with Chasca. Silonen and Kachina, on the other hand, are both Geo. That won't work the best with her since we want other elements. Ororon and Mawika might be the best choice we have so far and in the future. This is just an extra damage, so it's not a big of deal if you can't trigger it. Chasca's Elemental Burst is just like her charge attack. It will deal an initial Anemo damage, followed by 6 converted elemental shots. In summary, Chasca is a charge attack focused DPS that converts her damage to other elements, allowing her to deal both Anemo and non-Anemo damage at the same time, while swirling elements and triggering different elemental reactions. I'm just so excited to see how players experiment with her kit. We will just briefly discuss the other two since I know most of you already know how they work. But essentially, Wanderer actually works similarly to Chasca in two ways. First is, you need to press a skill to make Wanderer's normal and charge attacks stronger, dealing Anemo damage. Second, Wanderer can also make use of other elements. When Pyro, Cryo, Hydro, and Electro come in contact with his skill, gain certain buffs. Wanderer is very reliable in terms of damage, be it hyper carry with Faruzan or with the national team. However, he has one very annoying weakness. Unlike Chasca, this little angry Anemo boy does not have interruption resistance, so being hit by even a small hilichurl affects him. It's annoying in a sense that even if you are good at dodging, it's inevitable, or even if you manage to dodge, it takes a lot of time wasting his skill. Overall, he is a reliable, normal, and charge attack centric Anemo DPS that is very versatile. Lastly, our OG Anemo DPS, Xiao. He has a very niche gameplay. When you use his burst, he enters the state where his normal, charge, and plunge attacks are converted to Anemo damage. To make up for being vertically challenged, his jump height increases, allowing him to do plunge attacks with great damage but at the cost of his HP throughout the burst duration. This gameplay has two downsides. First is, you need energy management with Xiao by either giving him enough Anemo battery, which is very feasible at this point in the game with Faruzan and Shanyun, or giving him enough ER. The former is better since you want to focus on giving him offensive stats rather than stacking him with ER. Second issue with this is his life draining mechanics, so you either need a reliable shielder or a healer, which again at this point in the game is very achievable. In terms of gameplay, aside from being a plunge attack focused DPS, Xiao is a little different with the first two Anemos we discussed earlier since he has a better AoE range. In summary, Chasca has a fresher gameplay we still need to experiment with, and she has an advantage since she has interruption resistance, while Wanderer has an easier and more versatile gameplay. On the other hand, Xiao has a more challenging and selfish gameplay but with good AoE and damage. So far, I can attest that Wanderer and Xiao have very high damage potential. I even compared the two before. Now for their team comps. With Chasca, we still need to discover her best teams, but here is my checklist to build a team for her. First, you should always aim to have different elements that are preferably Pyro, Hydro, Electro, and Cryo. We can try to avoid using Dendro and only use Anemo and Geo if necessary. Sadly, Chasca is a charge attack focused DPS, so that means she cannot utilize very strong sub DPS supports like Xingqiu and Yelan. But Furina and Bennett might be her top support as of now. But the thing is, using this two with her limits you to not use Furina and Bennett to another team in the Spiral Abyss. So you have to make a decision on whether to give the supports to her or to give it to another character. Example, using Furina with your Nubilet and Bennett with your Arlecchino might be more worth it. But if that's not your problem, then feel free to use these two OP supports with Chasca. Fischl can be a great sub DPS as usual. Lila can be a great shielder while helping Chasca trigger melt. Rosaria can do this too, minus the shield. I am still debating if Xiangling is worth it due to her energy requirements and the need to be with Bennett. 5-star off-field options like Yai Miko can complement Chasca too. Shilonen can still be usable, especially with the new Natlan artifact set, but others might be better. It's fun to see that characters like Chasca is able to play and work with a lot of non-animo characters. However, there might be factors and restrictions that we need to consider. And just like earlier, I'll not discuss Wanderer and Xiao team comps in detail since there are already a lot of guides for them. Wanderer is very flexible in terms of team comps. Being both normal and charged eccentric DPS, unlike Chasca, we can still use Yelan, Xingqiu, and Beidou with him. National team is also a great option. And if you don't feel like using elements, Hyper Carry Wanderer is also very strong. Xiao is the opposite of the two. He needs very specific support to work the best. It's also advisable to use him as a hyper carry, being the sole DPS in the team. Overall, I can say that Wanderer is the most versatile and flexible, followed by Chasca, then Xiao. Artifact set wise, Chasca has the most choices among the three, with her best in slot being Obsidian Codex, then Wanderer, and then Xiao. If we're talking about efficiency and farming, Chasca and Wanderer's best in slot artifact sets have good corresponding sets in the domain, compared to Xiao. That's why most of the time, Xiao can get away with just 2 2P sets since his domain is not really worth it. But if we talk about weapons, the most F2P character is Wanderer. Chasca comes next. Sadly, Xiao is not the most F2P DPS. Overall, Chasca and Wanderer are easier to build since they have more efficient domains and more weapon choices. So here's my verdict. Damage wise, if you have a complete team, good build and weapon, Xiao can out-damage Chasca and Wanderer. Not to mention he has more AoE. His premium team is very competitive even in version 5. However, he is more challenging and riskier to play and requires a good team and build to reach his maximum potential. Wanderer is very flexible and beginner friendly. He is very F2P friendly and easy to build and outputs above average damage for a DPS. His lack of resistance to interruption is a bummer, but he is overall a solid unit. Now, to answer the question, should you pull for Chasca? My straight answer is, sadly, no. Hear me out. The placement of Chasca's release is not the best, especially for F2P and low spenders, since the Pyro Archon is just around the corner. I would highly recommend saving your Primos and getting the Archon instead. Not to mention, Zhongli and Neuvillette are coming in the next banner too, so it's really a tough choice. Next, even if you do not have an Anemo DPS yet, there are much more stronger DPSs that are coming soon and will surely have their reruns, like Neuvillette and Arlecchino, which will add more value to your account if you're an F2P or low spender. That is not to say that she is not strong, it's just that the timing of her release is not the most optimal, and given the list of insane DPSs we have, she might not be the best choice for now for F2P and low spenders. Overall, I like the idea of Chasca's kit, but I wouldn't say that it will make me pull for her. How about you? Would you pull for Chasca? Why or why not? Comment below. We reached the end of the video. Again, this is Earlbedo. See you next time!